All right. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich. I'm here with my somewhat nervous, cramming his food down his throat right before we go live partner here, Sean Williams. How you doing tonight, Sean?
Doing fantastic, man. How about yourself? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. I'm trying to get bullied into buying a dog or taking a dog in right now, so you have to excuse me while I come up with some more sarcastic comments on why we shouldn't do this, but we're probably going to end up doing this. So,
When all else fails, quote movies. That seems to work on here.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Uh, we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Of course, we want to invite you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our iTunes channel as well. And we want to thank the Fan First Productions for sponsoring us. And without further ado, I want to introduce a very special guest, the Future Stars League, which this is the thing we've been telling you guys so much about, and the upcoming events here in Monroe, Louisiana, that we are hoping to sponsor. And let me see. Bear with me, guys. We want to bring in right now Miss Kimberly Gant. How are you doing, Kimberly?
I'm doing well, Sean. How are you?
Sean?
Real quickly, could you explain to our audience here exactly what Future Stars League is, and basically kind of give them some idea of the mission statement that these guys have as far as what they're doing with these kids?
I sure will. Well, Future Stars League, what we're doing is we're looking for the top athletes, student athletes, rising seventh graders and eighth graders. What we do is we bring them to our camps, and at our camps, they are coached by former NFL players, where they learn technique and skills as it relates to the position that they play. And while we're doing this, we are looking at the student athletes. So we're just not focusing on the athletic abilities, but we're also focusing on the academics. And we're letting them know the opportunities that they have and how they can utilize their athletics in order to move forward in life.
So this isn't just. I was going to say, this isn't just football, then. It's also academic.
Yes, it's academic, and well as with parents, because with our parent programs, we have a mom university. And at our mom university, there are different topics that take place there as well. So we talk to them about recruiting, about injuries. So we have a full educational program, not only for the students, but for the parents. But we maintain relationships with all of our players throughout the year. So it's just not like a one and done. So once we go through tryouts, we keep that relationship with the majority of our players really throughout their football career, leading up to being recruited for college ball.
Okay,
one thing that Terrell pointed out to me earlier today that I wasn't really aware of up until he pointed it out to me was the fact that these kids, they're currently 7th and 8th graders right now. During this school year, they're 7th and 8th graders. But these guys that they're playing with or playing under in both the Future Stars League and the God Hands University group as well, they follow these kids, they follow their progress, and try to open the doors for these kids to get into college.
Yes, and if you go to our website and our page on Facebook, you will see where Terrell has been taking some of our rising 7th and 8th graders on recruitment fairs at major Division I schools. So we groom them.
That was recently at West Virginia, I believe, correct?
That is correct. And he also did one at the University of Tennessee. He took some students there. So what we're doing is we're getting these young athletes at the prime where they are, it's very pivotal because we see them throughout middle school through high school. So by that time, we have developed, we know them as a player. They've worked with our coaches. We've worked with their homeschool coaches as well and partnered in order to ensure that this athlete is going to the right school, because on Terrell's recruitment, when he's taking these players, he pretty much identifies what division that they should be in, as far as whether we're looking at Division One, ACC, because he's been with these kids anywhere from 6 to 7 years.
Sure.
That's good. That's really good. Well, I'm a former athlete. My son played some ball. My daughter played basketball. So I know all about a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. My wife does ACT prep. So it's a two-sided deal.
It is.
You not only do you have to develop your physical skills, but we tell the athletes all the time, how few of them actually make it all the way to, say, Division One football.
Right.
You have to, and you're only one injury away from not playing ever again. You really have to prepare yourself academically. What happens if your dream doesn't come true and you have a knee injury, or you just didn't make it? So the academic side is important too. They think it's just going to be this red carpet that rolls out, and you're going to be from an all-star in high school to an all-American in college to a first-round draft choice in the NFL, and it just doesn't work out that way for so many of them. So that's great.
Yeah, because we want to give them a real 360 transparent view, because as to your point, Alan, you're one injury away. So, and what if you're not in that elite draft, or what, signing day if no one calls you? However, what we're teaching them is that with your academics, you can still go to a school and perform.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
it's possibility that you may go on to maybe not your Division One, but some other school that looks for your expertise and your specialties. So that's what we try to prepare all of our kids for, and getting them at this age, and you're exposing them at an early age, so they're not seeing the program through rose-colored glasses. And by having the formal NFL players there to actually coach, and some of our coaches have played Division One ball across the board. So, and then they see the ones that went to the NFL versus the ones that did not go to NFL and had very great college careers. So it kind of puts everything in perspective for them to say, hey, and so now they're looking at those individuals saying, because we also do a career day. So they're able to see what these players are doing after football. There's a fifth quarter, and it's after football.
Yep, absolutely. I used to teach a long time ago. Well, let me tell the story real quick, Sean, then we'll go ahead. But I used to teach a long time ago, and I told I used to tell the football players in my classroom, I said, let me explain something to you. I said, you take an LSU versus Alabama game. Players on each side of that field that are on the sidelines, counting the starters and the whole bit. I said, that's 200 kids. The NFL drafts 237 people. That's one game, two teams, basically making up almost the entire NFL draft. Then you start looking at the schools, the colleges. You have 500 colleges out there, Division One, Division Two, Division Three. I use the old terms. And you think about that being how many kids go to those schools and how many kids play football and so forth. You start seeing how the numbers shrink.
Yes.
And the odds of making it that far. So it really hits home with them, because they start to think about, well, yeah, only one game, and that's all the athletes that make it to the NFL.
I think
it's a finite number of jobs.
I think that it's kind of a fine line that you walk there. You want to fully encourage these kids that, hey, you can be that 1 in a million kid. If you want it bad enough, if you work hard enough to achieve your dreams, you can be the one. But at the same time, you don't want to delude them into believing that all you got to do is throw a penny in a wishing fountain.
Right.
And all of your wildest dreams are going to come true. And you have to be prepared for basically the 100-to-1 shot that you're not going to be that 1 in a million that makes it.
Right.
Absolutely.
And what we do is
Commend you guys on the job that you're doing.
thank you. Because what we try to make them see also is that, sportsmanship and football plays into your everyday life. So,
Absolutely.
we teach our kids that no matter whether you're drafted or not, or whether you're drafted on the high school team that you want to be on, you're still a success. And that's what we want to get through to them, because the principles that our program teaches is about sportsmanship. So we can pair life skills so they're able to see and balance. So they understand, I have to work hard, because we put it out there saying, hey, that's the golden trophy. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication to get there. How dedicated are you? But also the principles that you learn within this program is not only good for the football field, it's good in everyday life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And any of the people that are regular followers of our show know my experiences. I had the opportunity a day or so ago to talk to a man that coached me 30 years ago when I was still playing at a much younger age. But I had the opportunity to thank him for the impact that he made on my life, because you fast forward 30 years beyond the interaction that he and I had, and some of the lessons that he taught me were how to win. And it didn't have anything to do with football, but it came around. It was more impacting how I dealt with cancer.
Right.
There are and people that have never played football, a lot of them don't really get how it equates over into real life. But if you learn how to win at football, it's just important to learn how to win life as well.
Yeah.
If you're a successful, and you see in terms of the New Orleans Saints, you see examples, Junior Gillette.
Yes.
You can be the most incredibly successful athlete in the world, but if you suck as a person, you really haven't accomplished a whole lot.
Right. And that's what we don't get that star mentality on our program. So one thing about our program is that we give that individualized attention to each of the student players. The coaches, once the teams are established, the coaches are following these kids throughout up until it's time for our game day. So, we tell the parents, if you're having problems with Bobby and Bobby's not making the grade, we need to talk to him what's going on academic, because we let him know that he is a 360 player, and understanding what a 360 player means within our program.
And I think that is the biggest part of it. You make these young men understand, and something that I feel, being an old man as I am, I feel is incredibly lacking in this millennial society is the concept of being accountable for your actions.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is greatly missing, and we hold them totally responsible. Because anytime they say, "Well, mom did this," our coaches are right there, like, "No, that's your responsibility, because you have to learn how to manage your time. So if you want to play and you want to be a part of the team, you have to manage every aspect of your life. Your academics is a very important phase in your life. That's your main career, and that's what we make them focus on, is that your education is your stepping stone to everything that you want in life, including football."
Absolutely. Well, Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on. And
Absolutely.
I want to let everyone know, locally here in Monroe, Louisiana, our date for the tryouts for the Future Stars League will be April 22nd, 8 a.m. at Wassman High School.
That is correct.
And if you guys will go to our Facebook page, there's a that we've put up that shows. I know that New Iberia High School, Pineville High School, and other places are also hosting these tryouts. And Kimberly, you can correct me on this progression here. From these tryouts, an all-star team is selected from the state of Louisiana and the state of Mississippi. And this culminates in a 4-day event in July 14th through the 17th here in Monroe, Louisiana. Everyone will be hosted by the University of Louisiana at Monroe. And it leads up to the culmination, which will be the Louisiana versus Mississippi All-Stars, which will be held this year at Wasman High School. And from our vantage point, we're trying to encourage the hashtag Break the Streak.
Okay.
The Louisiana All-Stars have not yet done this event, and it's time for our young Houdat Nation bees to rise up and
to rise
break
up.
the streak.
Definitely. And like I said, what's so great about our experience when we bring them to what we call our big game day? Our big game day gives them the fanfare that they would experience on the NFL level. We have a press day where they are talking with the local press. We host a banquet, for the kids and the parents the night before the game, for them to fellowship collectively as a entire unit, not just the Louisiana, Mississippi, but as a collective FSL family. So that brings great, because of course, we are into the trash talking. So it's great, and it forms great bonds even among the state lines, which is really great. But with this program, they get to experience what it is to play college level and football level. So we want to give them that level of experience so they can be exposed to it. How do they talk to the media? We're helping them out with that as well. And, to see their faces when they are actually being interviewed, it's priceless to see a rising 7th grader and a rising 8th grader, and then they like, can I do the retake? Can I do the retake? But it's giving them exposure. So they are groomed at a very early age on how to handle press, how to be, like I said, with the banquet, it's a great experience for them. And when they walk into that stadium, our crowds have ranged anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000. So when they walk in that, onto that football field and they see it, we do a walkthrough just like with any college team as they walk through. Well, I went to Ole Miss, so we walked through the Grove. Our team walks through the Grove. So they get to walk through, and we do a parade. So we do a parade, tailgating. So it gives them the level of experience that they will experience on the college level.
I think that's incredible.
Absolutely.
Can you give everyone the where they an email address?
Sure. Yeah. For more information, you can go to
there. That's what I'm trying to say.
You can go to our website, which is www.futurestarsleague.com, or you can call us at 615-678-9054.
Thank you so much,
and Sean,
for joining us. Alan, did you have something else?
No. I was just going to say thank you again for all the information. I'm really looking forward to this because I think this is just an incredible experience. That game day experience sounds amazing. That to me,
in our draft, I didn't even mention our draft. We do a draft.
Oh.
So we actually have. So when we're selecting the teams,
mm-hmm.
we make a call to them. And we put up, just like your NFL drafts, we do the same ticker. We put up, here's our starting lineup for the positions of our quarterback. So it gives them a full experience of how this will look. And to see the kids at this age, and when they post their picks, the parents are, giving them, say, hey, you got the call. Mm-hmm. You would think that they have just got drafted for a major NFL team.
Awesome. That's incredible. It really is. If there's anything I miss And even when I coached, my kids when they were little on the playground, stuff like that. But there's anything I miss, it's that game day, run out on the field to music, and you run through the banner, the whole bit. I mean, that is something that you just can't replace that high. You were
It's
so
priceless.
yes, you were so pumped when that happened. So absolutely. Well, thank you again.
Once more, I want to reiterate the date. Locally here in the Monroe area, that tryout will be at Wassman High School on April the 22nd at 8 a.m. through 11 a.m. We want to invite everyone to come out and be a part of this. It's not only important if you have kids and all that, but it's also important for our Houdat Nation brothers and sisters to get out and support this. This is a very worthy cause.
Absolutely.
And our support.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Kimberly.
All right.
All righty. Okay. All right, Sean. You want to go ahead and get started on the news of the day?
Yes. I'm trying to get it in chronological order here.
Okay.
I don't know if I will or not. I think Saints news this week. We had the return of a familiar face, which you conspiracy theorists will probably say is the reason that Brandon Cooks was traded so that Chase Daniel would be able to get his original number 10 back.
Yeah.
Returning. And Alan, to you, I want to ask, do you think that with Chase Daniel returning, that makes Luke McCown the 2 to 3 year backup now? Does that make him expendable?
I don't know. Honestly, it's like I told people before. You had Luke McCown here for a couple of years. It's probably been 3 years. Chase was looking for a starting job, and he went to Kansas City hoping to get a starting job. He went to Philadelphia hoping to get a starting job, and both times he got beat out. Once by Alex Smith in Kansas City, and the other by Carson Wentz, the rookie last year in Philadelphia. So, I think Chase was looking around the league to see if maybe he can get hooked up with the Jets or the 49ers or someone where he had a shot again at a starting job. It didn't happen, so he's coming back to New Orleans. So, yeah, it's going to be a battle, and I think this battle will go on through training camp between Chase and Luke. I'm not ready just to write off Luke and say, okay, well, thanks for having you for a couple of years. Chase has got the job again. I think it's really going to be an interesting battle to see who's going to win that number 2 job, because the loser isn't going to stay on the roster. The loser's gone. So, and
with
whether
these,
or not
with these guys, I don't normally in quarterback competitions, you'll have a guy that rises to the top and emerges the starter. And normal procedure is whoever that guy that doesn't. I mean, you generally in a quarterback in camp, a quarterback competition consists of 3 to maybe 4 guys. It's not ever just 2. That guy will rise and be the starter. That second guy is going to be the one that you see on the sidelines carrying the clipboard. But 3 and the 4 guys, somebody gets cut, somebody goes to the practice squad. And the interesting thing here about McCown and Daniel, neither one of these guys are going to be practice squad players.
No, they can't. They're too old. No, it's look, here's what's going to happen. You're either going to have 2 quarterbacks, or you're going to have 3 quarterbacks, with the third quarterback being the rookie that they either draft or bring in as an undrafted free agent. I think Grayson's gone. I think the battle's going to be between Luke McCown and Chase Daniel. And if they draft somebody, which I'm I'm about 85% sure they're going to draft a quarterback. I just have that feeling. I don't know who it's going to be. I have the people I like, but I just have that feeling that quarterback will get drafted. And that guy,
you really think?
Well, yeah, I do. I think Peyton
I would
wants
have
an
had
opportunity.
I would have had an easier time believing that they would draft a quarterback for Hightower signed with San Francisco. Now with Hightower, and I need to preface this a bit. Hightower, I didn't think that running back was a position of need going into this draft until Hightower left. Hightower leaving makes running back. It's not going to in any way, shape, form, or fashion supplant that edge rusher, that defensive back that we're desperately needing, but it's leaving that changes the scope a bit because no longer do you. I mean, you'll have Ingram, but as status quo right now, you got Ingram and then Cadet, and that's just not going to get it.
You have Ingram, Lasco, and Cadet. And Lasco was hurt a lot last season. Lasco, I think they can offer a lot of the same things that holy crap. Just text messages. I'm sorry. Ingram, Cadet. I'm sorry. Back up. Lasco they're hoping it can do a lot of the same things that Hightower did. They think he's going to be more that power runner inside between the tackles to give Ingram a spell. And Cadet, they're really looking for an upgrade from Cadet. And I think that's where the running back that's going to get drafted is going to come from. Listen, people are going to be mad, but I'm going to tell you this from the outset. You're going to see more offensive players than defensive players drafted. You can get pissed off. You can throw things at the TV and say Sean Payton's insane. We'll never be anything more than the 7-9 team. Keep doing this. But you look at the number of linebackers they brought in free agency. They've signed at least one defensive end to kind of act as a rotational guy with the other defensive end they're going to eventually draft. They've gone all in for cornerback with Josh Norman last year. They're still trying to get Butler. They will still draft a cornerback, but I think it's going to be an edge rusher and a cornerback that gets drafted, and the rest are going to be offensive players or depth. The signing of Raphael Bush, I think, takes the pressure off of them for a year to have to go get a safety. So that's why I think where I had my little mock drafts that I've kind of put together in my head or written down somewhere, I had a safety going. I'm now pushing up defensive end, cornerback, receiver, running back, and quarterback all going in the first 3 rounds. And people are going to be mad, but that's what's going to happen.
People can
that's
get
just
mad
my gut feeling. That's just my gut feeling.
Mad all they want to. That being mad doesn't change what reality is. And that being said,
unless the players they want are gone, and they've got somebody else on the board that's rated so much higher, but the people who are looking for Reuben Foster, the people who are fantasizing about, I just lost his name. I should have my draft book next to me.
Barnett.
No, not Barnett. No, I got Barnett in there. I'm thinking he was a linebacker. It'll come back to me. But anyway, the people who are thinking linebacker, you're not going to get it this time. Because you've got a huge drop-off, in my opinion, in the linebackers. You've got 1 or 2 that are really high, and then you've got a bunch that are 3rd, 4th, 5th round kind of guys. And unfortunately, we don't have a 4th and 5th round pick. So that's where I had a lot of these linebackers slotted. I think that 2nd round pick is going to be that running back or receiver or some kind of, or if they take that in the 1st round, your cornerback. That's where I think that's going to be. But barring the unforeseen, I really expect to see. Oh, we lost Sean's picture.
I'm back.
Okay. Barring the unforeseen, I really think you got Barnett or Thomas or one of those guys going in at number 11.
I think that it's going to wind up being Sean Payton in the war room going, all right, we took Barnett. Leave me alone. My turn. Let me have my picks now.
Oh, Sean Payton on offensive players is like a fat guy going to an all-you-can-eat buffet at the Golden Corral. I mean, he's just going to load up the plate because that's just how he is. I mean, that is. I mean, you start having talented receivers or running backs that can play that joker position, or you've got some kind of mismatch kind of player, and that's where the Christian McCaffreys, that's where the Curtis Samuels, those kind of players that are mismatch kind of players. I've even seen mock drafts where they have OJ Howard. Yeah, from Alabama, possibly going to the Saints at 11. I mean, that's Sean Payton. That's what he lives for, because he starts designing.
Be the only team in the National Football League who half of their salary is being paid to tight ends.
Yeah. But look what happened last year. You lost Hill for most of the season. You lost two man from the outset. You're bringing in guys off the street. And believe me, you go back to 2010 with the running backs. Sean Payton goes through a year where he can't do certain things because he's missing guys or missing people at a position. That sticks with him, and that carries over to the next year when it comes to drafting and how he looks at his offseason. He looks at his offseason and said, you know what? We could have won this game, but I couldn't score because I couldn't get the matchup I wanted. The guy I put in there did not execute the way I want. So we got to get this guy. So the next time we're in that scenario, I'm going to have this guy to be able to match up with this guy, and we're going to win that matchup every time, and we can win that game even with the 27th ranked defense. And that is how Sean Payton thinks.
I think if you want even further proof that what Alan's saying is right, just look at the free agent signings and deals that we've made thus far. Each one speaks to a specific need that we experienced in this past season. Ted Ginn Jr., you got to have a return man, and Ted Ginn's one of the absolute. He may not be a fantastic receiver, which is his position, but he's also a return specialist. You've seen very specific pieces being put in very specific places.
You're going to see that they showed it a little bit this past year, more times than they had any other previous years. In 2006, it was his favorite play, where he has the receiver run the end around. They fake the end around and give it to the back, and the back runs up the middle. They ran that in 2006 ad nauseum. Okay, and I saw it a few times in 2016. With Ted Ginn coming around that end, you're going to actually see him hand the ball off and run reverses and sweeps with Ted Ginn Jr. I can promise you that. You will see that play because, again, Sean Payton, how do I get this guy? What do I do with this guy? He's got bad hands catching, but he's got unbelievable speed. I got to figure out how to get the ball in his hand so he can get in space and make a play. Well, if it comes on a reverse,
I was about to point
counter.
Out,
and again, that's where someone like Curtis Samuel fits in too. If he drafts a Curtis Samuel, that's a guy who played running back and receiver. Again, you can run the same things. You can start out in 11, the Saints' favorite formation is posse, number 11. And then Samuel can either line up in the backfield a la Percy Harvin, or you can slip out and go to the slot. Now you got matchup issues. When you look at the Saints, you cannot look at the NFL draft and go, okay, we need a power runner because we want this. We need to be able to get third and short with a power running game. No, that's not what's going to happen. You've got to think like Sean Payton. Um, where can I design a play that's going to create a mismatch or make the defense second guess, and we can steal we can steal a first down, or we can steal a possession, those kind of things.
One more thing that I think worthy of note in terms of the week that was the New Orleans Saints this week.
Mhm.
Something that seems to be generating a lot more chatter than what you normally expect in a pre-draft visit. Today, the Saints hosted one Oklahoma running back, Joe Mixon, for a visit.
I'm sorry, that's my guy. I always have one guy in the draft every year. I have one guy in the draft. I'm like, oh man, I got to get this guy. I got to get this guy.
Well, I'm going to
And
tell you something, Alan, and I'm going to really upset all these LSU people and I apologize for that ahead of time. But in terms of, I look at all these people, all these guys. I look at what they bring to the table, what their college careers produced, and I try to how that projects towards a professional career. For my money, there's no running back in this draft that is more of a well-rounded, and maybe if you want to go so far as to call it a pro-ready running back than Joe Mixon. He can run over your face. He can run. He can give you the finesse game when you need it. He has this world-class speed that you would want from a running back. Now, all that being said, I fully.
He's a bigger, more powerful version of Darren Sproles. He doesn't have the juke moves of Sproles because Sproles needed him, but he has the hands of a Darren Sproles, but he's got the power of a power running back. Now, you can't give him the ball 25 and 30 times up the, off tackle or up the gut and expect him to survive a season. He's just not built that way. But you can get him his 10 to 15 touches a game, maybe even up to 20 touches a game, depending on how the offense is going. And man, he can run inside like Ingram does, but he can also run that screen pass like you wouldn't believe. He can get that arrow route, the little swing out the backfield and everything else. The reason why, of course, he's only going to be a third rounder or a second rounder, maybe, and he has first round talent, is of course the off field stuff. And I totally get that. I mean, you got it on video. He punched a woman. He's had a run in with a meter maid. He had some issues in high school and things like that. And I get that. But, and that's why this meeting with the Saints is so important, because my understanding is some teams have taken Joe Mixon entirely off their board. I'm going to sound like a damn hypocrite, but I'm going to say it anyway. I can deal with a football player who gets in trouble. This is going to sound terrible. I can deal with Joe Mixon's kind of problems better than I can deal with a player who flunks drug tests. And I'll tell you why. Joe Mixon, a player that has had issues with violence, and I'm not talking about like Greg Hardy, who did that as an NFL player. A player in college or in high school that had issues, some players that had issues with violence, you've got to take into account maturity. Okay. You're not a man, you're 18, 19 years old. And this isn't an excuse. Okay. But you can take someone who's done this and teach them anger management and work with them on controlling, how do I deal with situations where I don't let it become violent. Okay. Drug addiction is an addiction. And take it from someone who has been around alcoholics, who's had to deal with people who have been addicted to drugs, legal and illegal, pain medication and so forth. That controls your life. And it controls your life to an extent that your decision making is completely flawed because it's a chemical thing that you need. You need that drug. You need that. So you do stupid things like flunk a drug test right before you go to go to the NFL Combine, and go meet GMs and owners. Basically, it's a job interview. Um,
Yeah.
you just
Job
do.
fair.
Yeah, you do stupid things that you're going to get caught doing, but you can't stop yourself because you lie to yourself. You fool yourself into thinking they're not going to catch this one. It's just one time. It's just one. I just needed to relax. I needed a little something, and I've seen it.
And I mean, feeding into the same line of thought that you're talking about, mindset. You're dealing with athletes that, and more oftentimes than not, have been treated as superior to everyone around them for the biggest part of their lives, and they're just thinking like, well, those rules don't apply to me.
Yes.
That speaking from someone who's been exposed to, I'm telling you, speaking as a former person on the wrong side of this equation, so to speak, it affects your thinking. It affects your choices. It affects everything about you. And I'm not going to be one to say, you know what, you did this 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. You don't deserve the opportunity to make yourself a man. Earlier today on Twitter, I saw a post by Fletcher Mackel a response by Fletcher Mackel when it was announced. I think Underhill reported that Mick was coming for a visit, and Mackel assumed the morally superior role of saying, I think that's just a bad look for someone that has preached and to such an extent about cleaning out the locker room, blah, blah. And former middle linebacker Curtis Lofton replied to that, and he said, have you never made a mistake? And, that got me thinking. And I agree more on the side of Curtis Lofton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When it comes right down to it, you have to give this young man an opportunity to be a man. And, what he does with that opportunity, that's all on him.
And again, I'm not advocating taking Mixon in the first round or, really burning a high draft choice in him, a la Lawrence Phillips or anyone like that. I'm looking at this kid from the standpoint of, did he take ownership of what he did? Yes, he did. He took ownership of what he did. He admitted that it was wrong. He clearly showed contrition that it was wrong, and he worked on correcting that. The meter maid incident later on aside, that he didn't strike anybody. He got mad because he got a ticket and tried to pull the whole, don't you know who I am kind of thing. And, again, that's immaturity. That is, you're a young person, but he didn't strike her. And there's since that incident with that girl, there hasn't been the repeated things of, what, he really did something stupid again. Did he really learn his lesson again? That kind of thing. And that's why I'm more willing to give him a shot as opposed to a player like Randy Gregory, who, flunked a drug test before the NFL Combine last year. Speaking of which, and this is going to kind of change gears a little bit, when we talked about Reuben Foster before, I heard something the other day, today, and I really thought about it. And it is true. When Reuben Foster got sent home, I should say, after the NFL Combine for that issue with the nurse and everything else, and they've had some issues going on with that, and they've tried to paper over that by saying, well, they he felt like he was being pressured, that he needed to be at this job interview and so forth. I heard a guy say, have you ever known anyone to get sent home from a job interview? And you think about that. No, not really. Because, if you get sent home from a job interview, odds are you're not going to get a job there. So, I mean, that's basically, but if you think about it, that's basically what happened to him.
Yeah.
The man got sent home from the NFL Combine. You got sent home from a job interview. So you got a shoulder issue, which may or may not be something that carries over the next couple of years. You might get over that, but you might not. And you got sent home at the Combine from doing these things. Mixon, on the other hand, wasn't invited to the Combine. You don't think that sticks with him? You don't think that sticks with him?
That was a rule that they enacted, I want to say 2 years ago, 1 year ago, maybe, that anyone involved in domestic abuse cases was not.
Yeah. Right.
How they figure that this is domestic, I have no idea, but
I know. But like I said, here's a kid that he has had a lot of things happen to him at an early enough of an age that he can learn from them. And as long as he's had these interviews, all the right things, I think he will be a steal, because you're getting a first round talent in the second or third round. I'm hoping he goes in the third round to the Saints. And like Randy Moss back in 1997, he's probably going to be somebody who's come in with a huge chip on his shoulder to show, hey, man, let me tell you something. You assumed all these things about my character. I'm going to tear up the league, just like Randy Moss did. And, man, would I be ecstatic if that's what we get, because, I watched Atlanta with those two running backs, and I'm telling you, with Ingram and Mixon, you can add another 5 years on to Drew Brees' career with those two. That's
Absolutely.
just me. That's just me.
Like I said, I by no means am I Mike Mayock or Mr. Slickback Hair.
Who the hell is Mel Kiper? I got to hold a cup like this. Who the hell is Mel Kiper? Do you remember that? That was Bill Tobin. Yeah, Bill Tobin. Vince Tobin was defensive coordinator. I saw that live. That was hilarious. That was unbelievable. That when that happened, with the whole Trent Dilfer thing in the Baltimore Colts, that's when the draft was a lot of fun. It's just not like that anymore. It's too media. It's too structured and everything else. Guys just going off. It's just, I miss that so badly. And Tobin goes on and talks about my mailman neighbor knows more about the draft than Mel Kiper. Oh God, I remember that. That and the Jets fans booing every one of their picks.
Yeah.
The good old days of the NFL draft.
I can remember going back to probably 82, 83 maybe. I lived in Oklahoma, and I was told that I found out when, and this was one of the first years that ESPN was actually carrying the beginning of the draft. I said, I'm going to stay home from school and watch this. And she said, no, you're not. And the day before, there was a situation at the school, and I was basically asked to stay at home and think about my actions for the next 3 days. So I got to see the draft after all.
The first draft I saw was 1988. That was the first one I watched when we selected Ironhead. And yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
I think I think
The
probably the
first,
one that I watched the most was that what was it, 83, the quarterback class?
which one?
The 83 quarterback class, Marino,
Oh,
Elway, O'Brien, so on and so forth. Was that the right
mhm.
83?
83, class 83, yeah, because
Yeah,
you had Marino, Elway, uh, Blackledge, who was
yeah.
actually the most decorated quarterback.
He was on
Steve
the national
Young, and
champion.
yes, Steve Young and uh, Jim Kelly both were in that same draft class too, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And
Jim Kelly didn't actually come into the league until
no,
several years later because
Kelly
he was.
went to USFL, the Houston Gamblers, and
And
Ken O'Brien with the Jets.
yeah,
Tony Eason with the Patriots was in that same draft
uh-huh.
class. Uh, the Saints took in 1983. Trying to remember. Lindsey Scott was 82. I don't think. Oh, geez, I can't believe I forgot Alvin Tolles 85. We didn't have an 84 first round draft pick because of that went to the Jets because the brilliant trade for Richard Todd. Um,
Yeah.
I got to look it up. I got to see.
Well, while you
Oh,
look it up,
it don't
the
take me a second. I got it.
okay.
1980, 1983 was Steve Court in the second round. We did not have a first round pick in 83. So Steve Court out of Arkansas, the strongest man, came in the second round of 83. So we didn't have a first round pick in 83. We didn't have a first round pick in 84. We got one back in 85 because of a trade to get Alvin Tolles, and that was a bust. He blew out his knee his rookie year. Uh, yeah, it wasn't until 86 before we had a regular first round draft pick again. Typical Bum Phillips. Ugh. Well, but
Real quickly,
uh-huh.
I'm our as the clock goes, our positional analysis has worked its way around to the safety position.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Al. Do you consider that after one season under his belt, do you think that he is going to be in a position to step up and replace Bird, or is this something that we're going to have to continue to address via the draft or so on?
Um, you know, my feeling is you're going to see a combination of safeties. Um, so yeah, there'll be times when Von Bell is up high. I think there'll be times you'll see Raphael Bush up high. I think Vaccaro will continue to play that strong side linebacker / safety hybrid in the defense. Um, so it's hard to say. Let's see what happens after the draft because it's still entirely possible you see a guy like Eddie Jackson, you see a guy like Obi-Wan Kenobi, the one that my son Matthew loves so much. You see a
Obi-Wan
safety.
Yukon.
Yes, Obi-Wan Yukon. You will see a safety come in. The only problem with a player like Obi is, and it's the same thing with some of the other safeties out like you're looking for a free safety to sit up high. You really don't need another strong safety back there. And Obi's a hitter. He's basically a younger, bigger Kenny Vaccaro. You really need to get more of a rangy kind of player who runs sideline to sideline as a good center fielder.
Kind of like Jamal Adams.
A lot like Adams, yes. But the problem with Adams is I have a feeling he's going to be one of the first LSU players off the board.
I have a feeling he's going to be one of the first players off the board. If you want to get right down to it, I really and truly believe that he may be the most athletic guy in the draft.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Fournette, you're going to see him go anywhere from the Jaguars to the Panthers. I'm hoping the Jaguars and the Jets. I know. I'm hoping the Jaguars and the Jets jump on him because although I don't have the feeling that he is going to be the next Jim Brown, like Mike Detillier seemed to think he was going to be. I don't relish the idea of the Saints playing him twice a year.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Well, with the departure of Bird, do you see Kenny Vaccaro step and sort of being the de facto leader of this
I think he was.
unit now?
I think he was a leader last year. I really do. I think Bird, one of Bird's weaknesses, aside from the fact that he was injured all the time, was the fact that he was not a leader out there. I think Kenny Vaccaro is a leader. I think you saw a little bit of that in 2013. And I thought last year, even with Roman Harper there, I think he kind of more asserted himself in there. So, Roman Harper is not going to come back. He may sign a one-day contract and retire. I doubt he's going to play again. I kind of see Vaccaro as that de facto leader of the secondary. The question really is the corners, and we can talk about that next time. But, that's where the real question is more than the safeties. I mean, safety, my biggest concern with safety is injuries. What happens if guys get hurt? Like Vaccaro, would he get hurt? Raphael Bush, one of the reasons why he got let go his last time around here was because he got broken legs or injured 2 years in a row. And I kind of see, I don't know. Sammy Knight was an undrafted free agent. We've had some luck in the past for getting undrafted free agent safeties. The guy who's still playing, he's still playing in the league. Abdul's, I can't remember his name. Yes, number 42. Caduce. Yeah, number 42. He was undrafted safety. So,
he's still playing for Detroit.
Right. Don't just because the Saints don't take a draft a safety, the class is deep enough that a guy like Xavier Woods from Louisiana Tech could go undrafted. And hey, he's a little undersized, but he could play center field out there. He's a little.
I'm going to tell you, and I've been a season ticket holder at Louisiana Tech. There are a lot of safeties in this draft, but when it comes to Xavier Woods, kid has a nose for the ball. Mm-hmm. He is always around the play. He runs sideline to sidelines. He's decent in coverage. His motor does not quit, and he has a drive and a determination to succeed at whatever level he's on. I've seen that from middle school all the way where he is now. He's actually from right here in West Monroe, Louisiana.
Yeah. So, I mean, anything can happen. I just feel Raphael Bush in there now, it kind of lowers the need for a safety. I still think cornerback is very high, regardless of what happens with Butler. I think cornerback and defensive end, A and 1A when it comes to needs for the Saints team. If there was more depth at linebacker, I'd want to get an outside linebacker who's really need a strong side guy. But Vaccaro, again, can play that strong side position as a pass, on pass defense. You can kind of maneuver people around and maybe make up, some, depending on what team you're playing, fill in that strong side position at linebacker. But, that's just, I think there's some, I think there's some possibilities there with safety. Late in the draft, we'll see what happens. We'll just see how it falls out. You never know who slides. And I definitely think the Saints try and trade back into the 4th or 5th round. So, there might be a guy coming in The Saints don't take a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, there might be a quarterback right there. They may take a safety in that 3rd round, and your quarterback falls right in there at in the 4th. They trade up to get back in the 4th. You never know. I mean, we talked about that last time. I look at the draft as 3 separate day ones.
Yeah.
First round on Thursday is all. Then you reset your board for day 2, 2nd round, and then you reset your board again for day 3, 4th round. So
that's
you
it.
never know. You never know.
Well, I've
Okay.
always been of the opinion when it comes to the draft, about the first maybe 10, possibly even first dozen picks, you can get a general feel of where it's going to go and how it's going to go. But beyond that, it's act and react. You're going with the best player available as per your team needs. Pick comes up.
I'm sorry. I had to respond to something real quick. I'm sorry about that. I shouldn't be doing this while we're doing this, but yeah, that's what happens when people text you while you're doing this. Look, after the first round, and really, I think the only place you can really sit there and say that at number 11, it's going to be defensive end. But after that, I don't know if you can really sit there and say where they're going to go on stuff. I think and this is something else we could talk about, with Tony Romo announcing his retirement and going into the broadcasting booth. I think he injured himself going up the steps. I'm not sure. But anyway, after Tony Romo retired, now going into the broadcast booth, that now throws Houston in the mix of they need a quarterback. They were kind of counting on maybe getting Romo over there. So they're going to need a quarterback. So what does that do to your draft board? I don't think the Texans have the ammo to jump up into the top 10 to get ahead of Cleveland at 12 to get their shot at a top quarterback. But where do the Texans go? And if the Texans trade up, how does that push? Who gets pushed down? You might have a good shot at getting one of the top cornerbacks right there at 32. And I'm thinking like the UCLA cornerback, Fabian Moreau, maybe Adoree Jackson might fall down that far. You don't know, because that changes the dynamics. Because now if the Texans go quarterback, they're not in the cornerback market anymore. They're not in, and other teams have to start rearranging their draft board, because now they're sure that the Texans are going to want a quarterback. So, we'll see what happens. Well,
we want to remind everyone that on April the 25th, we're going to be just an hour talking. We want to remind everyone that on April 25th, we're going to be doing our first annual Draft Palooza Extravaganza 2-hour pre-draft show. Whatever you want to call it. We'll let you guys know it as far as I'm concerned. But we're going to be doing a 2-hour show on the final Tuesday before the NFL draft happens. And we're going to have so many guests and have so many things going on. We want to invite everyone to be a part of that. We want to thank Miss Kimberly for joining us earlier tonight.
Absolutely.
Miss Kimberly Gant from God Hands University. Thank her so much for being a part of our show. Thank them also for the opportunity to stand with them in representing such a fantastic thing that they're trying to do and a worthwhile cause in the Future Stars League. Alan, you need to address?
No, not today. I kind of took over a little bit over there with the whole my whole mindset about the draft and everything else, and with Mixon. Look, here's the thing. My only point is here's what you have to consider when you're thinking about the NFL draft. you're drafting, you have to draft the best player available. You cannot look at the draft as saying, okay, we've got holes at cornerback, we got holes at linebacker, we got holes at defensive end, we need a receiver, we need a running back, we need all these things. You make more mistakes when you reach for a player of need. And I always refer to 2 draft picks. In 2001, we drafted Deuce McAllister in the first round. That's 2 years after we traded our entire draft for Ricky Williams. And we gave up 2 picks in 2000 for Ricky Williams. Okay. And you bring in Deuce McAllister, the one position you didn't need. Okay. We needed receivers. We needed all kinds of positions. We took Deuce McAllister because he was a guy that was projected to go in the top 10, and he slid all the way to 27 or so. Flip that over to 2014. Tampa Bay Buccaneers take Mike Evans. The Carolina Panthers take Kelvin Benjamin. Comes to the Saints in the second round. We took Cooks, obviously, in the first round. Come to the Saints in the second round. They reach for a cornerback with big size, 6'3", large arms, former receiver, Stanley Jean-Baptiste out of Nebraska, because we were thinking about how are we going to match up with these big receivers in the NFC East? I mean, NFC South. You know, Julio Jones, Benjamin, and Evans. How are we going to match up with these big guys? We need a big cornerback, and he turns out to be a big bust. So that's what happens in my mind whenever you reach for need, as opposed to just drafting the best guy available. So when they take a quarterback or they take a running back earlier than you think they should, or you see a player that you were in love with, you know, still on the board, they didn't take him. You know, the immediate reaction is throw a cup at the TV screen and, damn it, these Saints will never figure this out. But your best players seem to come when you take guys that are just the best athletes on the board. And that's just how I'm looking at things.
I agree. You know, it's a lot easier to try and take and fit your scheme to what he can help you to do than it is to try to take a play position that you need and try to incorporate what he does to fit what you do.
Well, you start trying to justify a guy that you've got rated as maybe the 70th best player on the board, and you're going to take him at 42 because you're worried you're not going to get him. So you spend the whole time trying to justify that, and you fool yourself into taking a guy. So then it hurts when you mess up. And that's what happened in 2014. I think they reached for too many guys or went out and grabbed certain guys because they needed certain positions. And hopefully they learn from that. I really do. I hope that's what happened.
I do believe that the addition of Jeff Ireland has increased the efficiency of our draft. Last couple
Absolutely.
Seasons. I really do.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's see. There was one. Did we get everything? I have to go back and look at my list. I think we checked off everything. I'm impressed. We did a good job. We seem to have gotten everything on the list.
We're only 10 minutes over.
There we go. We're getting better at this. I figured by the regular season we should be there. April 25th, pre-draft show. We'll go into even more with the draft picks. I got my draft book stacked up. I've got 3 so far. I'm going for my 4th one, which will be Mike Detillier's book is out. And guys, I'm a plug it right now. Mike Detillier actually had something written up on David Onyemata last year, and we took him in the 4th round. And I promise you, just like I said, Sean Payton with a offensive players is like a fat guy getting turned loose at the all-you-can-eat buffet at Golden Corral. The Saints will, I promise you, will take a player where you have to Google his name because you never heard of him. You don't know anything about this guy, and he's not even listed anywhere in Mel Kiper's book, in Lindy's book, Pro Football Weekly. You've never even heard of this player, and you're going, what school is this? Who is this guy? Did I spell his name right? I promise you that
last year, during on the Saturday of the draft, I was a guest on a live radio show for I was their draft guru, if you can imagine this. There, and I've got this computer screen in front of me, and I'm just sitting there kind of like gate. I'm just going, wow, okay. And 5 minutes after my segment started, the Saints drafted Armada, and the host is sitting there. Byron's asking me, "What do you know about him?" I'm like, "I've never even heard of him." Let me
in the 4th round, no less. And I was Googling him. I was Googling him.
My own personal on their computer. I'm sitting there going, and so I Googled his name. He's a Canadian player, and from the looks of things, and I'm going, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
When you said that, it reminded me so much of that.
First pick of the 2012 draft. I think it was 2012 or 2013 draft. They got Akeem Hicks, and it's like from Regina University. And I'm like, wait, what was the name of that again? Did you just say Vagina on the air? What was that? No, Regina University. I'm just like, yeah, same thing.
Oh, by the way,
it happens all the time.
I want to give an update. Our buddy Puff Daddy, my man from here in town, that has had such health issues as of late. I wanted to let you guys know that as of today, he has returned to ESPN 97.7. He returned this afternoon, and I believe he's supposed to be watching tonight. And I want to tell you, Puff Daddy, buddy, I love you. Thank you so much for the shout out you gave me on the show this afternoon. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, that's great news.
And there was someone. Oh, also, I would be remiss if I did not say our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to anyone that was affected earlier on Sunday.
Absolutely, yeah.
Everyone is safe and sound, and we want you to know that like I said, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. If there's anything that the Houdat Nation do, let us know, because as always, tornado, hurricane, floods, it doesn't matter who the nation takes care of their own.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you guys for sticking with us all this time. As always, we go over time, but I'm glad you guys stick with us. We're getting closer. It's now April. At the end of this month is the NFL draft. It's Christmas in April. So, hey, the only problem is you don't get to open these presents for another 3 months after the draft. You can only fantasize about how good these guys are going to be. But anyway, we have our April draft preview show on the 25th. And after that, we have the first mini camp. I think it's 2 weekends after the draft is the first mini camp, rookies only, not open to the media. They have the first team mini camp in May. And then they have the OTAs. And then they take about a 3-week or 4-week break in end of June. Like the second week of June is the end of the OTAs. Take a 4-week break, and then before you know it, it's the end of July and training camp begins. So we're inching ever closer to the beginning of the 2017 season. I know it's hard to think about that in April, but yeah, that's how it works. So anyway, thank you guys for watching, and as always, we hope to see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.